China is using AI to sharpen every link in its attack chain. FBI artificial intelligence is helping Beijing's goons break in faster and stay longer. So apparently, the biggest threat to U.S. critical infrastructure, according to FBI Deputy Assistant Director Cynthia Kaiser, can be summed up in one word: China. So again, at the RSA conference, which is exactly where we got the North Korean information. So now we're going to talk about China. Yeah. She said government-backed crews are testing out AI in every stage of the attack chain in China. This isn't to say that they're succeeding, but it makes them more efficient, or might make them a little bit faster. Now, this group, Typhoons, I've seen on a lot of the news articles I read in cybersecurity in particular. But what really got to me about this article was exactly how, well, not exactly, but the known knowns and some of the known unknowns about how China is infiltrating the West. Volt Typhoon, for example, infected hundreds of outdated routers to build a botnet and break into U.S. critical infrastructure facilities, all the while readying destructive cyber attacks against those targets. And another Chinese espionage crew, Salt Typhoon, compromised at least 9 U.S. telecom companies and government networks last year before attempting to exploit more than 1,000 internet-facing Cisco devices as recently as January. These and other agents working on behalf of the Chinese government break into American networks through unsophisticated means. They're not even trying, or especially end-of-life devices. They're essentially, China is basically just vibe coding their way into our infrastructure. We see them coming in oftentimes through unpatched vulnerabilities or an unpatched device. And then when they get onto a system, it's very quiet. FBI agents who respond to China's Volt Typhoon intrusions and visited some of the energy and other compromised facilities will talk about how deftly the Chinese navigated an internal system, coming in through a business network to get to the operational side, Kaiser noted. That's what we saw with Salt Typhoon as well, being able to move laterally and navigate, taking their time to get access. One of the former FBI Director Christopher Wray's favorite warnings was that China has 50 dedicated hackers for every one of the Bureau's cyber-focused agents. And that was well before the Trump administration returned to the White House and slashed federal budgets and employees from the payroll. I don't know what you want me to say. Myself and others have been warning about exactly this for maybe not a long time, but, we've been calling out the tech industry in the West and their lackadaisical complacency to the way that they create software, which includes cybersecurity and dependency chain attacks and all of that. I've covered the evidence here. Yeah, rest in peace, West. Yeah, that's code for Amazon S3 bucket. So if you remember, I did a daily tech news stream. I covered an article that discussed how China uses their influence in setting the standards for international security and technology. So instead of trying to focus on just Western countries, which can be isolated in terms of their standards, they increase pressure through international standards. And they use their financial influence. That's one of the things that they do. And they convince people who set international standards to do X, Y, or Z that benefits them. And I used my conspiracy theory hat to go into a conspiracy theory about how I strongly believe that they are involved in perpetuating the terrible programming practices, languages, and frameworks that we use in the West because it benefits them. It absolutely benefits them. The way that we that we create software and hardware here in the West is very ripe. It's very, very ripe for exploit. I'll just leave this here for a minute. Wonder how many of this data was just used to create this wave of company products they made in the last decade. I don't know. And I don't think you can ever find out because China's too smart to give away that data, right? They're not gonna tell that. Of course not. They're playing, honestly, they're playing chess. We're playing checkers over here. Are conspiracies still a thing? No, a conspiracy theory is just 6 months away from a fact. That's it. That's all it is. It's not a conspiracy. It's not paranoia if they're actually out to get you. So I'll just leave it there. We really have to wake up to stuff like this. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. What is going to happen is something, like I said, including with AI, something dramatic will happen. People will get hurt. And then maybe we'll start to slow down a bit and realize that we should step up. And I think it'll be a knee-jerk reaction because we tend to be very reactive about stuff like this when it goes wrong. So what you're going to see is, like, right now, the amount of people who are getting hired for cybersecurity jobs is going to be at whatever level it is now. Once something like this kind of hits us in our face, then there's going to be a mad rush to hire cybersecurity experts, programmers, etc. And you're going to see that field jump up, and it's all reactive. We rarely, if ever, do anything proactive in the tech industry in the West. That's how it's going to be.